Welcome back, guys and gals, to Paranormal Papa Podcast, episode 19. 2025 is almost over. We have 2 podcasts left in 2025. But with Christmas in less than a week, I wanted to touch on a little bit of that Christmas magic, those spirits of Christmas. And who better to turn to learn how to harness and bring those spirits of Christmas into our everyday lives than Christo-pagan druid practitioners, magic users, as they talk about harnessing those spirits of Christmas, our past, our present, and our future, and bringing them into our everyday lives. Today we are going to join Creation's Paths and its hosts Charlie and Brian, who are both Christo-pagan druid practitioners, as they teach us how to bring those spirits into our everyday lives to remind us of the good in our lives and the ramifications of living a bad, angry, or selfish life. Let's get into this.
Beware, good listener, for tonight you shall be visited by the ghosts of 3 beings that will come to you and maybe hop around and dance around a lot because they're beans. Yeah, we're going to be talking about the ghosts of Christmas past, present, and future, and how we can play around with them in our own magical practice. Because the one thing that we have all learned from chaos magic, other than sigils are fun, is the ability to shift our belief systems so that we can utilize various things for our own advantage. And today I'm choosing to believe in the power of the 3 ghosts: the ghosts of Christmas past, the ghosts of Christmas present, and the ghost of Christmas future. Let's talk about how we can use them in our magics today as we walk together down Creation's path. Hello everyone, my name is Charlie. I am a Christo-pagan druid and priest of Bridget who today believes in a Charles Dickens ghost story.
Wow. Hello everyone, my name is Brian. I'm a Christo-pagan druid and sous chef to the doctor.
Today we're going to be talking about how to use Charles Dickens' A Christmas Carol in our magical practice. And I am not kidding about that. This is not a joke, but it should be fun and kind of lighthearted. But before we get into it, if you haven't already, don't forget to like, subscribe, follow, whatever the terminology happens to be, on whatever app you're currently listening to us on. We all know the story. Miserly, curmudgeonly old man, all bah humbug about everything, comes home to be greeted by the ghost of Jacob Marley, who warns him that tonight he will be visited by 3 spirits. The ghost of Christmas past, that shows him the Christmas of his youth. The ghost of Christmas present, which I want to believe is a beautiful double entendre, that shows him life as it is right now, including the Cratchits getting drunk. And the ghost of Christmas future, that shows him the dark and bleak future for him if he continues on the path that he is currently following. And if he wakes up the next morning, finds a young boy randomly roaming the streets, scares him into buying a goose so that he can go and be the Christmas savior, because white saviors for all, and to all a good night. I mean, not really, but it kind of the... And the billionaire's heart grew 3 sizes. Like, it is kind of a proto-Grinch. It is, I have so many feels about this story.
This is why I like the modern retelling in Scrooged, which is so entertaining, because at least there, they have kind of all the good feels, but it's less, white savior, billionaire.
And the billionaire saved us.
Yeah, it's more of just like, hey, everybody's happily just feeding together in good times.
And I'm not here to discuss the ethics of Scrooge, though. If next year you want us to do that, let us know, and we'll definitely go into the ethics of those, because I personally believe that Scrooge is actually not mending his ways. He just doesn't want to have the dark future that was prophesied and is selfishly trying to forestall it. But that's just my reading of the Dickens story. I don't believe that you can use hell to scare people into goodness. I don't think that that's the thing that you could do. It's a very fall redemption way of telling the story. It is a way, though, that gets tempered in a lot of modern retellings, so that you do see people's hearts and minds actually change, like in the Scrooged version that you're talking about, in the Muppets Christmas Carol, in the even in the Mickey Mouse Christmas Carol, where Scrooge becomes kind of a hero and the protagonist of DuckTales. Like later on, we do see this character being used and see actual changes happening in their character. My reading of the Dickens book, which I feel like the best reading of the Dickens book is to get yourself a copy of the Tim Curry audio book of it.
Oh, yeah.
Because one, Tim Curry, two, Tim Curry, and three, Tim Curry. Do you need any other reasons? But where I find this very useful is when we're applying this to our magical practice. Because one, as we've talked about for Santa Claus, I do believe that we have created an egregore of Santa Claus that is an actual spirit that we can do work with. I think that we've kind of done this a little bit with the Ghosts of Christmas Past, Present, and Future, but not quite to the same extent. And I don't actually propose working with them in the way that you would work with spirits. This is not the Santa episode again, but with the Ghosts of Christmas Past, Present, and Future. So how can we use them in our magical practice? One, I think would be a really fun journaling and or guided meditation practice. What if you were visited by the Ghosts of Christmas Past, Present, and Future? I have done this meditation a couple times over my life. In preparation for this episode, I did it again recently. And it is a very interesting thing where you kind of go into an active imagination practice, which we have an episode on that. If you're not familiar with active imagination, you go back in the archives, not that far back actually. We did an episode on how to do active imagination and kind of run through what if you were met by the ghosts of Christmas Past, Present, and Future, and what would they show you? Remember, the whole point of this is to put yourself in the story. So they're not going to show you the same things they showed Scrooge. So when they are taking you back to the past, with the Ghost of Christmas Past, what does that look like for you? What memories of yours get dredged up? Why are those memories important? Why are they significant to you? The Ghost of Christmas Present, where does it bring your mind? For me, it brought my mind to Ukraine, and it was very sad. My Ghost of Christmas Present was very much in Ukraine and Gaza, and yeah, my Ghost of Christmas Present was very sad. It was very sad, very sad. Though it did not superimpose the Tiny Tim into the story, thank goodness, because I don't think I could have. I would have probably responded to that more emphatically than Scrooge did to the Ghost of Christmas Future. And my Ghost of Christmas Future was an interesting one in that I think it took me to a not so realistic future. But it was interesting because it was the Christmas future I needed to see, which was a far more optimistic, like, remember the crazy old days where these things were happening? Kind of like very sitcom-y. Remember in the bad old days when we still used computers and were arguing over the internets about things that didn't really matter? Now we have our robots that help us with everything. It was very optimistic Christmas future. But again, that's psychologically what I needed. I'm living in kind of a dark place. My present was a very dark place. So my future, thank goodness, was not. I don't know what yours are going to be. I'm just kind of saying this to let you know, like, it doesn't have to follow the same pattern as the book. You may be surrounded by friends now, so the idea that you will die friendless and alone with no one to visit your funeral may not be a concern for you like it was for Scrooge. So don't try to force it in that direction. And remember, as an active imagination practice, this is not predictive. We are not doing divination here. I actually would discourage you to use this as a divinatory practice. I don't believe it's useful for us to try to foretell the future like that at all, because
the entire structure of this, the future is supposed to be more of a warning of what could be. And yeah.
Additionally, I think you're right. For me, I think it was more the future needs to be what you need to get off your butt to do the right things. And so when I did the practice for myself and the for preparation for this episode, my Ghost of Christmas Future took me to an optimistic future.
Yeah.
We can get through. We can get to the better place. We can make things better.
Yeah, I see what you're saying, because each individual, some might need coaching to get off their butts to do what needs to get done. Some might need warnings so that they don't continue down the path they're currently on.
But yeah, that prediction shouldn't be so much wish fulfillment, because mine wasn't necessarily wish fulfillment in like, oh, but we'll die happy surrounded by friends and family and all the accoutrements of Christmas. It wasn't that kind of a future, but it was more of a, oh, look, these practical changes actually happened in our world, and look at what a better world we're currently living in with our universal health care, universal basic income, and people don't have to worry about their retirement anymore because of that. And it's very like practical, like it was a happy future because of things that could actually be done to get to a happy future. And again, because I live in this world of pessimism, right? A pessimistic future wouldn't have helped me, for example, because I just would have been like, yeah, there you go. Everything's bad and will only get worse. And would have just kind of settled into that. But because I'm a pessimist by nature, my Ghost of Christmas Future experience needed to be more optimistic, to be like, no, we can do stuff. We can get things better. You know, remember when we were afraid that climate change was going to be a problem, and then we developed, fusion energy, and we're able to just very quickly and rapidly get rid of our carbon emissions and clean battery technologies and it was things that could actually happen to get us to a brighter, happier future. Because again, that's what I need. And you shouldn't try to predict what you need. That's the power of active imagination. And active imagination is a magical practice. In fact, it is what most visionary practices actually do, is a form of active imagination. Jung thought he was discovering something and was not. It's something that had been practiced for thousands of years before him, but I highly recommend. And you can do it either as a meditation, you can do it as a journaling exercise. Again, we talk in our active imagination about a lot of different ways to do it. But I think that it may be something helpful for a lot of us. I think I got the most out of my Ghost of Christmas Past ones because it helped me to remember things that I had not forgotten, but had neglected remembering. Like some of our Christmases when we lived in Oakland that were very Charlie Brown Christmas, with very meager tree, very few things under the tree because we didn't really have money to buy things. We didn't have a big elaborate Christmas meal. In fact, I think we had ham sandwiches that year, if my memory was accurate, because we wanted a Christmas ham but really couldn't afford a whole Christmas ham, so we got a smaller Christmas ham. One of my happiest Christmases ever. It was a beautiful day out. We spent a lot of time in the backyard that day. It was a happy, beautiful time. And getting to remember that and getting to rest in that and to remember those joys in the hard times as one of the visits to the past was very helpful for me. And you don't know what memories yours is going to dredge up. Also, remember, this is an active imagination experience. It may create a false memory for you. Do not ever assume that any memory that gets dredged up in an active imagination experience is actually a memory that actually happened, because we are conversing with our imagination and our deeper self. But the point is to look at the things that our unconscious is trying to remind us of, to tell us of, to learn those lessons from it. I think this is a really fun way to get into that place. I'm considering maybe making this an annual thing of having my visit from the Ghosts of Christmas Past, Present, and Future every year going forward, because it was a very rewarding experience for me this year in ways that it wasn't in the past. In the past, my depression really was in full swing. I think the last time I did it, and it was a nightmarish experience. Also, remember, this is active imagination, and at any point you can say, nope, we're done, and walk away from it, should you have an experience like that.
I always like to think of it in Star Trek terms. This is when you go into the holodeck.
Yep.
You're running a program, first of all, so you're not recalling a file. You're running a program. As Charlie pointed out, you could be creating a new memory in whole cloth and putting it in your brain. So you got to remember to keep that in context, both and. But while you're in that program, if it's getting really bad, just call for the door, walk out the holodeck and the program.
The main memory I kept coming back to is when I know that happened was when my uncle came back from Alaska and took us out. He would come pick me up every time he came back to visit, and we would go to Dairy Queen. That was what we did. But this year was special because he had a lot of sway over the rest of the family. So he went and rented a VCR because that's a brand new, newfangled technology at the time, and knew that I like sci-fi movies, and picked up the latest to VHS Arnold Schwarzenegger movie of The Terminator, and convinced my parents that little child me should be allowed to watch this movie. And he and I sat in my grandparents' living room watching The Terminator together on this newfangled VCR while everyone gasped in the background but got talked out of turning it off every time they tried because he talked them out of it. Formative memory in my youth. One of the happiest Christmases I can remember because I wasn't allowed to watch a lot of sci-fi and fantasy, especially at that age, and to get to see a very, I don't think it's, like, it by today's movie standards, I think it would probably be rated PG-13, not R, because compared to movies today, but, you know.
Yeah, because it's so funny, because I was just thinking, I was like, I had an uncle decided to want to do some bonding time with me, and he just told the parents he was taking me out to see a movie, and when we got to the theater, said, what did you want to see? And I saw the poster for Terminator, was like, I want to see that movie. And he went, that sounds awesome. And granted, this was my biker uncle, very metal, very leather jacket, everything. So I'm shocked my parents just let him take me out. I wonder if, like, he just said he was going to take me to see some Disney flick or something. Who knows? I don't even know it was a theater time. I just know that we went and watched Terminator, and I came back. I was all wound up. So this, hopefully they only heard gibberish out of my mouth and didn't understand that.
And this is how the Terminator became a Christmas movie in our house. You can hear the joy in our voices. And that's kind of the point of the Ghost of Christmas Past, is to reconnect you to that childhood joy and wonder in the present, to help you understand how your life relates to other people, and in future, what lessons you need to learn to have a better future.
Sometimes it'll take me to places where I am reminded that most people looking at this situation will be like, well, how would this be such a joyful situation? And sometimes it was just because of that childlike innocence, it was so joyful, even if it was actually a meager thing or something that most people would be like, wow, that's so sad. Well, it's only sad because you said it was sad. It was actually joyful. It was like learning to accept certain things and understand that a lot of the interpretation is personal.
One of my favorite toys that I got when I was a kid was a washing machine box. It was the cardboard box that a washing machine came into that I made 3 castles out of to play with my action figures with. And it's one of my happiest memories. And a lot of people, when I tell them that story, they're like, that's so sad. You got a cardboard box for Christmas? I'm like, yeah, I got a cardboard box for Christmas. It was great. You got to use my crayons and you put all the colors and draw the windows and stuff in it. I got to cut the doors out and everything. And use tape so they would swing and everything. Yeah, it was great. One of the other things I'm thinking about doing with this year is some actual magic. See our episode, The Ethics of Hexing, on if you have any moral qualms about what I'm going to say. But I do feel that it might be beneficial for certain people in the public eye to maybe have a visit from the 3 ghosts of Christmas past, present, and future. And this, again, is where we have to realize what magic is. Magic is not like it is in the movies. I, nor you, are going to be summoning a spirit and sending it to these people. Remember what we've said a million times, cursing and hexing public figures is just shouting in a very loud room. You're unlikely to get hurt. But there can be a cathartic element to it. So, because I like making sigils, I have been making sigils for the Ghost of Christmas Past, Present, and Future. I really like the sigils. I think they're kind of pretty. I may actually post them over onto the Instagram or the Blue Sky, so that's Creations Paths on both, once I get them to a place where I feel comfortable sharing them. But I was thinking of setting up an altar that has a triangle with a circle in the middle of the triangle in it, and having one sigil in the corner of each of the triangles, and then putting the name of the people that I think the ghosts should visit into the center, maybe into a bowl at the center, doing a little ritual work, a little magic work, and letting the universe decide what happens from there. That really is what you're doing when you're doing magic. As we like to say, it's hedging your bets. Do I think that in doing this ritual on December 26th, I'm going to turn on the news and there are going to be press releases from all of the people that I'm putting the names in the thing of how they woke up and if I had a little kid to go buy a goose, no. I think that's an unrealistic thing to expect. But, and I do really believe this, and this comes from my time as a Buddhist and my deep and abiding love of metta practice, I believe that pretty much anyone can be saved, that anyone can find the right path. And I think it is beneficial for me to not see this as a way of wishing bad upon people, because I don't. That's not what I'm doing this for. I'm not hoping that they will be scared straight. Again, I don't think fear of hell is a way to get people to do good things. I don't believe that works. Fear of punishment does not dissuade people. Capital punishment was the punishment for murder in our country forever, and people still murder people. Fear of punishment does not stop crime. That's not how that works. But I would love for people to be able to find happiness and joy, because the one thing that I see in most people's lives, especially people that are doing harm, public harm, is the misery written in their face. Their dead eyes, the forced smiles, the sheer lack of joy. Because we have, because of our entertainment industry, this idea of the mustache twirling villain that's like, I am going to do the evil because I am the bad guy, He-Man. That very evil character, right? I think when we look at actual evil, the banality of it all is so frustratingly sad. Because when I look at people that I would say are evil, because there are some people that I would label as evil, I think they fit that name. If you're committing an ethnic cleansing, you're evil. I don't think we're allowed to say the G word. I don't know if we're allowed to say the E word on these platforms or not, but if you're doing, you're evil. I'm sorry, you're evil. You've done an evil. If you're invading another country, you've done an evil. You've done an evil. If you're intentionally inflicting harm on others so that you can enrich yourself, you've done an evil. Look at these people. See their interviews, see their speeches, see their public appearances. They just look like the saddest, most pathetic people ever. Even in moments where one particular person, who I'm not going to name, but you'll know when I say this, literally jumps for joy, he didn't seem gleeful. Like, there was no glee in it. There was no joy. It was more like, I'm happy to be here, and not like, I didn't get a sense from him or anyone else there that he was happy. It didn't seem happy. It for me, had a much more of a feeling of performative glee. It's performative joy. It's performative happiness. And that almost hurts me more than to see somebody who just looks grumpy and just looks sad. And I think a lot of these people are lonely. And I'm not saying if only we could get them a friend, if only they would find true love, they'd be happy. I'm not that simple of a thinker. But I do think that loneliness and isolation, and when we feel bad, we strike out at people. I think misery is a contagion. And I think if me doing a ritual so that the ghosts of Christmas past, present, and future can visit some of these people, even if it's for just a moment, if they can remember a happy Christmas or a happy anything in their life, even if just for a moment, that's a glimmer of hope. Because the road back for a lot of these people is going to be long and arduous, and more than likely one that none of them will be willing to take. And we have to accept that sometimes. You can't help people that don't want to be helped. And that's really what the Scrooge story is about. The point of the three ghosts, ghosts 1 and 2, are there to remind Scrooge that he used to be better and that he wants to do right. It's to remind him of what he had in his youth and the joy that his brother and employees have in their meager, meaningless lives as he sees them. So that when the ghost of Christmas future shows him his future, he's ready. He's already at the cusp of wanting something better. Marley has already warned him, standing there shaking his chains, right? Because we always talk about the three ghosts, so there's 4 ghosts. But the first ghost warned about the other 3. And because he says 3 ghosts, we say 3 ghosts, even though he's visited by 4. And that's what we have to hope, is that they can have that moment. And for some of these people, I know they're too far gone. I don't want to tell the sad story on this podcast, but one of the people whose name's going into that bowl this year for me, has talked about a guy who died alone and friendless and ostracized from everybody that he had connections to because he was diagnosed with HIV. And it's one of those things, if you know, you know. And he still talks about him like he lived a good life. So that person is talking about that guy like he lived a good life. There's nothing that goes to Christmas future will really show that man that will make him want to change, right? But I need to have the hope. See, sometimes our rituals are for ourselves, even when we do them for others. I don't know that that man is stable. I hope. I would love to believe that everyone is. But when I heard him say that one particular thing, I was like, oh, you're too far gone. Like you literally saw Jacob Marley and went, nah, I'm good.
For some people, it might not be companionship. It might not be others, but it might be their legacy. So if their ghost of Christmas future came in and was like, well, you're going to die friendless, but that wasn't the actual motivation they needed, of course they would have been like, nah, I'm good. But if they show them that they will be forgotten, that their name will mean nothing.
Yeah.
Or worse yet, their name will only be spoken as an ill word, a curse on future generations, spoken only in hate and anger to others. That might be enough.
This is where I feel like too many people overstate what magic can do. I cannot and should not try to impose my will on others. What I can do is put my will out into the universe, my hope, my aspirations, that something will happen to wake these people up. Is the likelihood slim to nil? Yes. Yes, it's highly unlikely, but it's not zero. I think for all but one of these people, I think one of these people is a lost cause, but one of these people. And again, that's just because he literally had his Jacob Marley moment and is like, he lived such a good life. And I'm like, oh my goodness. Oh, right. Like, you kind of had your Ghost of Christmas past, present, and future, and we're like, yeah, everything's fine. Like in real life, and that just hurts. But I can put my intents out into the universe that these people will find that something. Maybe a miraculous reconciliation with a child that quite a few of these people would desperately want, but have hampered occurring, right? There are a lot of things that possibly could happen to shake their lives up in a good way and get them back on the right path. And I can put my intents out into the universe because there really is no greater curse than may you be a better person. It really is a curse. We may think it's a blessing to put on people, but you don't know what internal and external changes they're going to have to do in their own life to make that possible. It really is a curse that we're putting out. It really is a hex. But there's some people that, need a little hexing. So that's what I'm going to be doing. I highly recommend if you've not done the active imagination version of this, at least do that. If you're going to try doing the other part, do not tell me who you're hexing. I do not want to see in the chat or in the thing a list of, because that's bad magic. That is bad magic. Magic is in putting intent into words and actions and out into the universe. And I try very hard, I'm not the best at it, try very hard to be careful not to have toxic positivity. That's bad too. But to be very careful how I am using my intentional actions in the world. So I don't want to see all the people you think should be hexed or that you want to be hexed down in the comments. And I will know who got this far into the episode if I start seeing that down there. But I would like to know if you've tried this kind of active imagination practice, or if you think that wishing someone were a better person is a hex as much as I do. Because I know the pain that it took to get me to where I am, because I was a terrible person in my youth. I'm not saying I'm great or perfect now, so I'm far from it, but I'm so much better than I used to be. And I know the pain, suffering, and misery and nights of existential that got me here. Like it is a curse. You can help us to continue to grow by sharing this podcast with other people, because we really do this because we want to get a positive Christo-pagan and Druid message out into the world, and didn't see really many, if any, people doing it, and who really want to get the message out. So think about sharing. That really does help us out more than you know. And as we're going, since we're in this wonderful chaos mindset, oh, spirit of Jacob Marley, rattle your chains and give a great visit to those who need to hear your warning of the dark fate that may await them if they continue walking down the paths that they're currently walking. Because there are many people that need to know that, like the Grinch before them, their heart needs to grow 3 sizes. Amen.
Amen.
Welcome back to the studio. I'd like to thank Charlie and Brian for touching on this, using this harnessing of a fictional character from a classic piece of literature to better our own lives, to better our understanding. I've tried this and it works. I couldn't believe how well it works. Our Christmas tree has been up since just a few days after Thanksgiving. The other night, my wife had to work one of those ridiculous schedules. She didn't get home till almost 1 o'clock in the morning because of the snow. And I got a chance to wrap her only present under the tree. And I sat there in front of the tree and I looked at it, and I thought back to those Christmases of my youth. I pulled that spirit of Christmas past. And for those of you, that have known me for a while, you know that back in 2016, after, going into shock and being put into a coma, that a lot of my memories have been affected. But, I sat down in front of our Christmas tree the other night when the wife had to work until midnight. And I thought back to those Christmases of my youth, to the Christmas of 78 when I was 10 years old, or when I got my bicycle. When I woke up Christmas morning and that bicycle was sitting by the tree, I remember riding it down the hallway. But common sense tells me there's no way my mother would have let me ride a bicycle, down the hallway in our little tiny house. I remember getting my Rubik's Cube the year they came out, and my dad trying to play with it Christmas morning while Mom was cooking breakfast, and him throwing it down to me and saying, "You figure it out, that damn thing is unsolvable." Of course, it was solvable with a little ingenuity. And then I pulled in that Christmas present, and I thought of, my life is really no different than my parents' life with us kids. We don't have a lot, since losing my job in November because of my failing eyesight. And, now my wife is supporting the family all by herself. We don't have a lot of money for Christmas dinner. And as parents and grandparents, that's important. Everybody looks to us to bring that holiday joy and that togetherness. And even though we don't have a lot, I'm always looking to give to others. I don't just think about Christmas for myself or my own family. I always look at those who have even less than we do, because they need to feel that love as well. And then I pull in that future and I think of the legacy that I want to leave behind with Paranormal Papa's podcast, with Paranormal Papa Investigations. And I can't help but wonder how I'm going to do it. I want to etch my name in stone and be known for something great. I believe that when I survived death almost 10 years ago, that I was brought here, I was kept here for a reason. And I want to think that it was for something epic. And that's how I want to be remembered. But that's all I've got for you today. Stay tuned next week for the last episode of 2025. But until then, take care of yourselves. Take care of each other. God bless you. God love you. We do. And Merry Christmas.